Alright, let's take another look at some of the counterfeits, address some of the questions, some of the comments that people have had. Start off with, so some of the specific ones. This guy named Deadpan C, he wrote, "My personal experience with fake cards is not universal to everyone." I don't know what he means by that, no idea. I can guess maybe he means that I've not seen any that are perfectly accurate, therefore that's not true. Well, if that's the case, then I ask him to prove it, but if he has any that are perfectly indistinguishable from old cards, then they're indistinguishable. They're magic cards. If you cannot find anything, any flaw, then they're not counterfeit anymore, really. They're just newly printed cards for all intents and purposes. Although that's not entirely true, that is basically what they are. Somebody else, I'm looking at the comments too while I'm doing this. Somebody said that the Ditsi Kunoichi, so Ditsi Kunoichi said that he had a problem with the light test with Secret Lair foils. So we'll take a look at that. In fact, that's why I showed these. So this is Secret Lair. This is from the vault. This is a Judge foil. This is Secret Lair. So we'll test these, check these light test, and see how they do. See how the light. Maybe that'll be a better. Anyway, so let's start off with. I want to explain a bit more about why I have counterfeits. Why do I have any at all? So, one of the reasons is, the main reason, the chief reason, so I can play vintage. I cannot afford to play vintage without counterfeits. Although, to be precise, some of my counterfeits for my vintage collections are proxies. One of each dual land, except for Taiga and Tropical, are proxies because I own a real copy of those. I own 2 authentic Taigas, I own 2 authentic Tropical Islands, therefore 2 out of the 3 Tropicals in Arc Sprite are proxies. The third one is a counterfeit because it has no proxy pinning it to authenticity. The other reason is because of the art. So one of the reasons that I have some of these counterfeits are cards that are too expensive to obtain in reality. They're like All Hallows Eve. I've got a proxy All Hallows Eve and it's terrible. The colors are way too saturated, it's too dark, but the image is still kind of there, so I have it. This is my counterfeit Misha's Workshop. This is the authentic Misha's Workshop. One of the reasons I have retained the counterfeit once I acquired the real one is so if I'm going someplace that maybe it's a bit dodgy, maybe I want to take shroom but don't want to risk it, I can drop in the proxy. This is a proxy because it's underpinned by this real one. So I can play the proxy instead of the real one, so I don't risk theft, don't risk damage. This real one is actually pretty close. So the things that jump out at me are the swirls are a bit softer. They're more, I guess, pixelated, less distinct. The orange also is a bit off. To be honest, sometimes I wonder what Kaya was really going for with this. I mean, I love the art. I really like the card, but it doesn't really look like a workshop, does it? It looks like some kind of strange Phyrexian ghost, surrounded by little flying ghosts. But you could tell the back. So the back has that hashing with where it's more. The brown and the lighter shades, they're more white. They're more distinct. They don't blend as well. This one, they blend in very well. And then, of course, all the surface damage. You're highly, highly unlikely to find a workshop without surface damage. I know they exist, but they're few, far between, and incredibly expensive. And this one is perfect. This one, they got the cutting right. Looks like they sharpened the blade. This one is pretty spot on, so let's do a light test. Let's start that. With my EDH collections, I do not use any counterfeits or proxies in my EDH decks. None. One of the reasons for that is it limits me. It makes it so I can't just run anything I want. So here's the counterfeit one, and the light isn't really coming through because of the black. They call it black core paper. If you find the Chinese sellers pushing these, they call it black core, and it's probably the glue. And look at that. So especially the orange there, you can see the light coming through. It's bluish because of the glue they used. Here it's just not coming through. So this one is definitely the counterfeit. Let's turn this off. So like I was saying, one of the reasons that I have proxies, the main reason, is so I can run vintage. I can play with moxes. I can play with multiple dual lands. I can have these powerful decks and get that experience of playing with them, of my friends and I having really high power level games. In my EDH collection, though, none of my EDH decks do I run proxies or counterfeits. I probably will, like I said before, run proxy workshop if I think I'm going someplace dodgy and don't want to risk my authentic one being stolen or damaged. But one of the reasons, like I was explaining, is it limits me. So if I only run authentic cards, and the lads already complain about some of the older cards I run, like Gaia's Cradle, you have my hollow, my bullshit lands as the genie calls them. Let me try to get that so it looks better. If I only run the real ones, then I can't just jam a Gaia's Cradle into every deck. I can't just jam a Yavimai Hollow into, although I do because I have so many of them. But there's certain things I can't just jam into every deck. So we're doing a light test on a Secret Lair foil. And I see what Dichi Konoichi was saying. The light is not... Okay, we're getting a little bit there. So I'm touching the light to the card. Yeah, it's barely coming through. It's barely coming through, but with the Secret Lair foils, I don't know if I would be concerned about encountering a counterfeit in the wild. I don't know if these are being counterfeited, and if they are, again, the back. The back is usually because I don't care. Just keep in mind that they're printing these so they can sell them for about €2 each. So for them to spend the effort in making them perfect, making them indistinguishable from the real, even getting them to 90%, it's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the time. Oh, there we go. So this is a Judge Foilistic study, and in some places I'm getting the blue. There we go, right there. Can you see that? So that blue striation, that's authentic. I don't know if any counterfeiters are using blue, but the big ones with using an industrial press, and that's another thing, is these industrial presses to print these cards, they're expensive. My God, are they expensive. And they'll have a certain capacity. They'll have, they're probably using the downtime to print magic cards because we've got the machine anyway, okay? We've got some downtime in between jobs. Let's print something. Let's make some money. So that's probably what they're doing. And they're not going to spend the effort to get everything exact. And the back, once they have the back, let's see, there's the blue. So the FTV foil is, you can tell. That Secret Lair foil, I saw what he says now, that was difficult. So anyway, Once they have the back, then they just put it in every card. Why not? Just put it in every card. So they're not going to spend a lot of time making it perfect. But it looks pretty good. I'll give them that. This one looks pretty good. Let's do the last secret layer. Is there anything else that people commented on that I should address? So say some people asking where I got the proxies. I think I was on Reddit and I went to the proxy sub, and there you can find people. Oh wow, yeah, you're getting a lot of. So this, in the text box, you're really getting the blue. But anyway, in that subreddit for counterfeits, for proxies, there are people that will point you out to the how to contact the Chinese sellers, and what they do is they have a batch of cards you can buy, like they call it Lot A, Lot B, and it's just a random mix of cards. It's just fucking random. Or for €2 each, you can buy specific cards and get whatever you want. So the backs from all the batches have looked like this, where it's not perfect, far from it. The Magic the Gathering, as I pointed out earlier, is, I don't want to damage the front of this authentic card. The Magic the Gathering is less distinct, less sharp. The trademark is lighter. Here it's a very bright white. And then on the green dot, and I don't have a loop, let alone one that I can hook up to my camera to show you this, but if you look online, you can look up green dot magic authenticity. Just do some search for that in whatever search engine you like, and it'll show you in a loop how there's a anti-counterfeiting feature in this green dot. I don't know if it was intentional or just the way it printed and serendipity that it's there, but it is there. And then of course, look at the edges. So if we look at the edges, the authentic card is more reflective. This is more matte, less reflective. Also, the counterfeit feels waxy. I really don't want to rub this foil too much. But the back of this, it's more glossy. It's slicker. So there's some more thoughts on counterfeits. To sum up, I'm not worried about them because there's aspects of the counterfeits that they'll never get right because they don't care, because it's not financially valuable enough for them to do so. If they did get it exact, they did get Maker Mishra's workshop that passes all the tests, that looks exactly as good as this one as far as the quality of printing, that feels the same, the back is perfect. If they do that, it's a Mishra's workshop. It just recently printed, and people will buy it as such. You know, BSG 10, or is it BGS? BSG. So it's Battlestar Galactica 10. This card, except it's not real. And then in my EDH collection, to limit myself, I only run authentic cards, also for the art. This one, after a while of looking at it, it starts to bother me because of the variations that I can tell between the authentic and the counterfeit. I really like the art of the cards. This is why I have Inigo Montoya instead of Semut. Semut Voice of Dissent, I don't like the original art. Don't like it at all. It just, he's not in a very good pose. It's dark. It's not very inspiring. This is inspiring. And Universes Beyond, which I've made many statements expressing How I will never mix them with my actual Magic cards, but here I am. Universes Beyond, Indigo Montoya for Voya. I could make a lot more decks. I could make my decks a lot cheaper if I used counterfeits, but like I said, I just don't want to. Forces me to give my decks more of their own flavor. So I have 3 guys cradles. If I make a deck that really needs a cradle, then I have to decide who loses one, or if they lose one. For example, Voya right now has a Search for Iskanta. Is it Search for Iskanta? It's one that turns into Illimok, Cradle of the Sun, so it's probably Search for Illimok. As a way of expanding my collection of cradles. But Mishra's Workshop, I only need 1 because I only have 1 artifact deck. I'm unlikely to build another artifact deck. Invoke Prejudice, it's only in Azami because I would only put it in a mono blue deck or a colorless deck. But then if I built a colorless deck, since it wouldn't be Eldrazi because Eldrazi is for cube, it would be artifacts, and I would want a workshop. And if I built a colorless deck, an artifact deck, that needs workshop more than Shroom, then, because I only have 1, and I'm not going to spend 2,000 euro to get another one, I would have to take it from Shroom and decide what would be a good replacement. Or maybe, at that point, I would be breaking up Shroom because I would have more of a precise artifact deck. Where the fuck is that search for? I can't find it. Search for Illimok. Search for the sun. Search for your mama. Where the hell is it? I know I've got one. Yeah, the growing right. Okay, so it's growing right to Illimok. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's so many goddamn cards that it's difficult to remember them all precisely. Some people can, not me. But anyway, there's some more thoughts on authentic cards and testing. Oh, another thing is, and I should have whipped out my mana crypt to show you this. In fact, let me do that. So last on the counterfeits is somebody talked about a water test. So you put a drop of water on a card. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, this is only counterfeit. I don't quite care about it, but I just don't feel like putting water on my cards, let alone the authentic cards. So the idea, as I understand it, is you take a drop of water, and put it on a real card, and it should behave in a certain way, differently than counterfeit card. I'm not going to do it because I imagine if you do it too many times, you end up with this.